Hi everyone, it's John here. Welcome to this month's edition of Friday Freebies. So this month we're going to take a look at some of the new features that we've released recently. So the new end of day and cashing up report, we're going to look at the new split refund option, and we're finally then going to take a look at the new invoices option that we've got in the system. Okay then, so first of all, we're going to take a look at some of our new reports. So this is the new cashing up and end of day report that we launched recently. So the first thing I'm going to mention is that you've got the new cashing up report at the top and the new end of day. The old cashing up report on end of day will be taken down from the system shortly. We want to give a bit of a transition period, so nobody's kind of like, where's that gone? But hopefully you guys have started using these new reports, and I'm just going to take you through just in case there's some information in them that you maybe weren't aware of, or you're not sure what to look for. So first of all, the new cashing up report then. Now, one thing I will mention actually before we've done these reports is why did we do some new reports? So we are working through all of the reports in cloud. Some of them were just going to be some tweaks and changes. Some of them are some updates really. So we'd like to take on board feedback from you guys, make some little tweaks as we go, but also as a business, we want to make sure that all the reports are fit for purpose and give you the best information you can to make the best decisions in your business. So you've got the right tools there. So we've started with probably the really important ones, which is cashing up at end of day. So cashing up report then. So this is the report you would go to for the end of day. You want to cash up to see how much money have I got in my cash drawer. Okay then. So first of all, I'm going to mention is the report now. That one of the big changes is that you've now got instead of just a payment list, you've now got bankable and non-bankable, which for me is the biggest update or biggest change in this report. So you can now see your bankable payments with a total, non-bankable payments, and then you will then have a total and a total of the both figures combined at the bottom of the screen. So what does everything mean then? So first of all, we can see I've got two sets of figures. That's because in my system, I've taken payments for two different companies. So for example, here, my scenario is I've put green fees through and shop products, two different companies. So these little toggles on the left, you can open up like before. Now they'll be slightly different. Instead of seeing the product group sale, for example, bags, balls and clubs, you're now going to see product sales or account sales or voucher sales. Under both of mine, product sales will basically be physical products, or in this case here, things like green fees, buggies, trolley hire. Account sales is money going on to accounts. Nice and clear, you've got under one company, the figures with a total, second company, figures with a total, and then at the very bottom, all of these figures combined makes up the two totals, make up this figure at the bottom. We will then see down the bottom of the screen, you've got a total payments, and that figure matches the one at the top. So we know that all of those sales and transactions have all got a matching payment for that. Okay then, so bankable payments first. So this is things like cash, card, check, backs, for example, or any third-party payments that you've chose to be bankable. Now, under the bankable, we've basically got here, I've just put through cash and card today, so we can see these two different payment methods. And again, you've got a total figure, and then below that, you've got non-bankable, which in this case is account debits, and you've got a total figure, and then you've got that figure plus that figure with a total down the bottom. Nice and clean, nice and easy to use, and hopefully you guys will find just having that little bankable, non-bankable split will really help. Like before, same filters, you can export however you'd like using all these different options. You can print the report off. Over on the right-hand side, we've got a date range filter that you've always had. If you've got multi-site and you've got access to lots of different sites, then you'll be able to select a shop in here to view the report for really quickly. Companies, if you've got more than one company, they'll display here. Obviously, only if you've got figures that day that you would obviously be able to see any information. But on the right, you can click the drop down, and then you could say, the golf course want there, how much money you've physically taken in bankable, non-bankable tenders. You could just maybe do a little tab like that and click view. And then finally, terminals. So if you've just got one terminal in your shop, so one sort of sales terminal, you won't need to touch that. But if you've got two or three terminals, so more than one terminal, you might want to just load that for Terminal 1 and cash at Terminal 1 because Terminal 2 has got a different float with a different, different rep money in that till. So you can obviously then cash up, somebody else could cash at Terminal 2 and so on. There we go. So nice and clean, nice and easy to understand. No more explanation needed, really. I think it's a really nice little easy to read report that hopefully helps you guys at the end of the day cashing up. The big change then is the new end of day report, which I think is fantastic. Now, this report, we've taken the opportunity to add a lot more information in here to give a lot more of a business overview. So this is more of a report that you would use maybe at the end of the day, but I would say on a weekly basis, it's really powerful, and maybe on a monthly basis. Like the cashing up report, you've got your sales and payments. So we're just going to have a look at sales first. So we can see here that we've got two different companies in my system, and so under this particular company, we've got account credits, product sales, and then below this company, we've then got product sales as well. Now, one of the new features or functions we've added in is that we've added VAT to this report, which I think is really good. That's something that you guys have been asking for. So rather than run a separate VAT report, you want to be able to just see the VAT on the end of day report, which I think is really good. So this report has got your different VAT rates. So here we've got product sales with standard VAT. If I had put any sales through for product sales for this particular company against different VAT rates, so second-hand or zero VAT, they will be on separate lines, but this has only got standard VAT sales here. Account credits or vouchers will show as zero VAT because there's no VAT paid at that point. It's when you would use the account money when the VAT's applied, or when a voucher gets used to buy goods. Again, that's when the VAT's applied, so that would be shown under product sales. So you've got your gross figure on the right-hand side. You'll have your VAT amount and the VAT rate, and then on the left-hand side is the net sales figure. So obviously that gross sales take away VAT. You've got your net sales figure. And then you've got your totals. And again, for the second company, exactly the same again. And then you've just got your totals on the bottom line under the sales total. Payments. So again, very similar. You've got your different payment methods under bankable. And again, then under non-bankable, you've got your things like account debit, gift vouchers, third-party payments that maybe you've chose to be non-bankable with a total sales figure, payments figure, sorry, that matches sales figure up here. An extra sort of part of information we've added now is a product sales analysis. So again, this is some extra information that we really think that is useful. So this is where you'll be able to see now group sales, and you've obviously got the VAT for these as well. So it's not like a sales analysis giving you some really in-depth, kind of product sales, but this is just a bit of an overview of the different product sale categories with the values you've taken. So this is, I would say this is pretty useful, to be fair, to look at. And you've got your different VAT rates again in here. So there might be one for the accountants here, this one. Again, you've got your different VAT groups under each company with the different VAT rates split with the figures on the right hand side, and obviously you've got your gross VAT and net sales figures. Down the bottom then, so this is a new column. So this is where if you've had any voucher sales or account credits, they'll also show in here. So this is where at this particular day we've put through £200 of account credit, and obviously we see zero VAT. Obviously, if we did put any voucher sales through, they would also show in here. And down the very bottom then, you can see loyalty and discount. So if we had done any discount, you would have a discount line with the amount. Obviously, loyalty as well. If there's any loyalty gone through, you'll have the figure there, as you can see. And the final bit, which I really like, is till activity. So this information I think is really good. So baskets is how many sales you've put through the till, how many transactions. So you can look here and go, right, we've served 4 customers. Then what you can do then is you could actually look at your sort of sales figures. I mean, it is over on the right, to be fair. So you could divide that figure by the amount of customers, and you'll actually get from that, you'll get an average transaction value. So you can work out how much for the amount of customers. So that amount of money divided by 4 people, that's the average spend per customer. So over a month, this is really good because you could look at then the same figure for last year, and you could work out, our customers spending more this year versus last year? What could we do to get them spending more? Layaways obviously speaks for itself. You can see if there's any layaways done. Product returns, that's something to keep an eye on if that figure's quite high and there's quite a large amount of money, because obviously that's maybe, could customers exchange rather than return? Could you maybe look at things like that? Products sold. So this is a really good one. So whilst we've served 4 customers, if you only had 4 products, then it's kind of not really, whilst that's great, if customers are buying more than 1 item per customer, then obviously that benefits the business more. So here we can see that's really good because that's pretty much, sort of 3 items per customer. In retail, this is called units per transaction. So you might set a target of maybe say 1.5 units per transaction. How do you do that? So it might be upselling, 2 pairs of gloves instead of 1, a dozen balls instead of a sleeve of balls, 2 packs of tees instead of 1 pack of tees. You've bought a polo shirt, we've got a matching, hat that goes with it or what have you. So that report then, like I say, all the different columns here. On the right-hand side, you've got some of the parameters, so date ranges, again, multi-site, and then you've got your company's view report down the bottom. Final bit for this report then. So we wanted to put a bit of an explanation there. So, what do all the figures mean? I've just explained it, but what do they mean for maybe your accountant is looking at this report, or somebody who maybe, works 1 or 2 days a week? So there is actually 2 pages to this report. So if we go to page 2, you will actually see a full explanation of what all of this report means. So I would recommend having a good read of this because it is really useful. It's really helpful, and we've really put it out there so you guys can have a really good look through and understand it. So there we go. So we've got the new cashing up report for you and the new end of day report for you, which I think are both fantastic, and hopefully you guys will enjoy using them. By all means, give us some feedback. We really appreciate feedback. Next, then we've got the split refunds. So this was something maybe where this is needed where prior to this launch, if a customer has bought a product, nice and easy, if they've paid by cash or card for the full amount or on an account, you can just refund it. What happens though in the past is if they've paid by 2 payment methods, so for example, £500 cash, £500 card, until this update this week, you're only able to refund to 1 payment method. So don't get me wrong, it's a little bit tricky. We've now changed that. I'd like to say, and I'm really glad to show you, is that you can now refund to 2 payments. So 2 or more payment methods. So I'm going to put a refund through here then. So I'm just going to select something of value to put through as high value. Now this particular product, for example, £300, I'm going to do as 1 tender, and then I'm going to do the rest in another tender. So we're going to just refund the item, pay, suitable for resale or not. So obviously if it's faulty, no, back into stock, yes. And now same button as before, press select. But now what you can do when you pick the payment method prior to this week's update, as soon as you press the button, the full refund will go on to that tender. I'm going to do £300 cash. So what would have happened before is this box wouldn't have popped up. The refund would have gone through as 525 cash. Now you'll get the prompt on the screen that you can now actually type in the amount that you'd like to put onto that payment method. So here I'm going to do 300 cash, and we can see, there we go, we've got 300 cash, 225 left. I'm going to put that onto the customer's card. And there we go. So we'll just view that receipt just so you can see here. So there's that refund I've just done. View receipt. And we can see here that there's a refund, and it was refunded onto card and cash. So there we go, nice and simple. But I think that really now will help if there's maybe an error made where somebody's accidentally put a payment method through incorrectly and it involved two or more payments. So there we go. The final one for you then is I'm going to show you is invoicing then. So what is invoicing? Invoicing is where a account has been debited for a sale, and you want to be able to produce an invoice to send to the customer to say, please, can you pay me this invoice in X amount of days? So there's a couple of things to turn this on. So there's a couple of things to go to. First of all, settings. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go into the business setup and customer account types. So this is the account that will be in effect linked to your customers in your shop. So I'm going to go to my account and edit it. And in here at the very bottom, you'll see the offer invoice button. So if yours is unticked, if you tick it, And then that will now mean that this is going to be available. The invoicing will be available. You can put in a payment days. I've put 30 days from payment. So this means I've debited an account. I'm going to send an invoice and it will say basically, please pay me in 30 days. You could change that to whatever you like. And I've put the word invoice in. This will show up and it will say invoice. You can obviously change that to something else if you like. So that's the first part. Now, the next part then is if we go into settings and we're going to go into advanced and then emails and receipts, we can actually set up a little bit of a template for the invoice. So in here then, so we've obviously got our email statements, email receipts, and then just below those, you've got invoice name. So again, you could change that name in different countries. I'm just going to keep it nice and simple for the UK called invoice. And then you'll be able to put a little bit of a message to the customers that will be printed on the invoice. And then a key one is you have to have an image in here. So I've uploaded an image. You have to have an image for this to work. So if you've got a business logo or a photo of, the golf course or something there, pop into here, like a company logo, that would work best. And then you could put the email logo. So most logos would be centered. So I put center, but you can go center, left or right. And that will mean where it shows up on the actual invoice when it's emailed to the customer or printed off. And then again, for the address, you can choose, do you want it on the left or right hand side? Depends if you're going to put it in an envelope and post it. It obviously maybe you want it in with a little view on the envelope if it's got one of those envelopes that's got a clear pane. But yeah, it's up to you where you choose to pop this. Right then, so how does it work? So we're just going to pop a sale through where I debit a customer's account. So the invoice, whether you've debited part of a payment or a full payment, you'll be able to send an invoice for the amount that was put onto an account. So what I mean by that is if only £5 of this sale was put to an account and the rest was paid by cash, the invoice would be able to be created for that amount of £5. But I'm going to do the total amount here today. So I'm going to pop that onto an invoice. And now you get a new box pop up. Would you like to print or email the invoice? I'm just going to say yes. And then we hopefully should get the invoice on the screen. So we've got, as we can see, my logo, the invoice details for our business. And then you've got the products that were bought. And then you've got the amount due from the customer. And then at the very bottom, we've got my bank details. So bank details, if you don't know where they are, they're in settings, business setup. And if you edit your company, your default company in Xpos, that's where your bank details are underneath the address. So they will also, obviously, that's key to have your bank details on here. Now, date due will default from our account that I showed you earlier that said 30 days. You can, over on the right-hand side, change that date, but that will be the default. And then obviously you can see my message here. There we go. So it looks really smart. I think, it looks really good. From here, you can export it if you want to attach it on an email, or you could actually just email invoice if this customer has got an email address on their account, which is what I'm going to do in a moment. Additional text is if you wanted something additional to that. So maybe you want to say, please pay, BACS details are on the bottom of this letter, or please pay into my PayPal account. Combine products. So that is if maybe, I'll give you an example, Society Day, 30 items were sold. The customer doesn't want to see all 30 items. They just want to see one total figure. You can combine the products by toggling on, and then you could put a reference in here, maybe, for example, Society Day. And then when you click view, that will basically put all 30 lines into one, and it'll just say Society Day, X amount of money. Display discount is if you have put discount on the transaction. At the moment, it doesn't show any discount. If you toggle that on and press view, you'll see the sales price along with any discount that was applied. I'm going to just tap email invoice for you today, and that's been sent, just so you can see what the email looks like then when the customer gets that email. So if I go to my emails, and there we go, we got the invoice pretty quick. So the invoice here, we got our logo, obviously, but you might want to print it, email it to the customer. You got your VAT number, invoice date. You've got, obviously, like I say, all the products in the sale, along with the amount due, which is nice and clear for this customer. And obviously there we've got all the information we need for the customer to be able to pay you. So that's everything today, guys. Hopefully you found this really useful, and it's some of these updates are really going to be beneficial. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next month.